on the lands of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Boodja and pay respects to elders past and present, recognising that this land has never been ceded. It always was and it always will be Aboriginal land. You know, normally I come to these things and I know what I'm going to say, and it comes reasonably easy. But today, the last couple of days really, it's been an absolute shock to find ourselves at this point of history at the start of 2026. It's been a long time coming. It's not anything new, but it's so brazen and so blatant now. But I know a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed and feeling powerless, but I'm really pleased to be here with people like you, because you're the people who won't accept the aggression that we are seeing. You're the people who won't accept the law of the jungle. And you're the people who are going to build the maximum resistance that's going to be needed to counter this US aggression. At the moment, we can't rely on our government. Yeah? Absolutely not. But we're lucky that we do still have some politicians who show courage, who will stand up for what's right and who are willing to speak out. And I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Sophie McNeill. I'm sure many of you know her. Sophie McNeill, MLC for the Greens in the West Australian State Parliament. Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting today on stolen Whadjuk Noongar land. This always was and this always will be Aboriginal land. And also a big thank you to Hands Off Venezuela for putting this action together so quickly. It's all volunteer work over the holidays, so thank you all for coming together so quickly. I'd like to acknowledge my colleague Tim Clifford from the Greens, who's in the audience, and also I'd like to acknowledge former Labor Premier Peter Dowding, who is here with his Hands Off Venezuela sign. Thank you, Peter. Now, the Greens oppose this illegal US attack and kidnapping of President Maduro. This illegal aggression on Venezuela is a clear violation of international law, and Australia is obliged to speak out. The crime of aggression, the murder of innocents, the bombing of a sovereign nation, shame. For profit, for power. It's very, very clear what this is all about, and it must be roundly condemned. But what have we heard from this Albanese Labor government? What have we heard? Pathetic. This needs to be clearly, urgently condemned. Instead, this Labor government, they're concerned, right? They're urging all parties to support dialogue and diplomacy. And they want the US to set out the facts before they pass judgment. I mean, if it wasn't so serious, it would be laughable. What a pathetic, what a cowardly response from the Albanese Labor government. This is like the emperor has no clothes. Trump is standing there stark naked telling us what this is all about. Oil and money. And yet they say, oh, we need a bit of time to work out the facts. Shame. Well, the Greens are not afraid to call it for what it is, because anyone with half a brain can see that the US is now clearly a rogue state, breaking international law and breaking all global norms, left, right and centre, to carry out their imperial and genocidal aims from Gaza to Venezuela. Shame. War criminals. Absolute war criminals. And if governments like the Albanese Labor government do not speak out, do not immediately and urgently condemn these actions, if there are no consequences, what world are we creating? What are we saying Australia stands for? Because who's next? As we heard today, apparently Colombia, Mexico even. The list is long. Greenland, Ukraine, Taiwan, Cuba. all watching because Trump has thrown the rule book out the window. He's set it on fire and thrown it out the window. Shame. But we will not stand by while our so-called ally destroys every part of the international rule book, as they commit wanton murder and death purely to secure oil and protect the profits of companies like Exxon and Chevron. Chevron, who have their headquarters around the corner, friends. Perhaps another day. But after decades of repression, what Venezuelans need is to live in a country of their own choosing, led by Venezuelans, where their freedoms and their rights to participate in free and fair elections are respected. They shouldn't be living under the rule of a foreign power, under the whim of a madman like Trump, what suits him and his fossil fuel cronies. Shame. And what we have seen time and time again, even in, the lifetime, there are people here who all we have known in our lifetimes, millennials, are these US wars for oils. And then there are people who have seen this for the past 60, 70 years of their life, and shame it is continuing to happen now in 2025. And we are here to say enough is enough. Because we know that the true victims of US regime change operations are always civilians, always. And so what we need in the wake of this illegal US aggression against Venezuela is urgent and clear steps. The Greens demand that we remove all US bases from Australian soil. The Greens demand all US troops off Australian land now, off Indigenous land now. And the Greens demand that we urgently end the dangerous AUKUS deal that will see us intrinsically tied to this aggressive imperial power for decades to come. And most importantly, friends, we demand an independent foreign policy for Australia now. Because the US is a brutal force, a brutal and terrifying force that Australia and the rest of the world needs to protect itself from, not work with. And we do not want to be part of their illegal and imperial aggression in any shape or form. And you probably heard the commentators in several different outlets talking about the critical role that F-35s played in this illegal operation. Shame! F-35s that need Australian parts to operate. So let's make it clear to federal and state Labor, we refuse to partner with this murderous imperial power anymore. It's over, guys. We're over it. No shape or form, let alone to build a massive US nuclear submarine base in the beautiful Cockburn Sound where I live in the city of Cockburn. Shame. We don't want 700 US troops there in our backyard getting ready for their next illegal act, assisting their next genocide. No, enough is enough. West Australia wants no part. So we are calling on everyone here, please join our campaign to stop AUKUS, because that is the clear lesson for us here in Australia out of the last few days. There are horrific angles from all sides, but for us, this is our number one focus. This is what 2026 has to be about, friends. We need you to join in, follow Stop AUKUS WA. We're going to be hearing from some of them later, but please follow our social media, follow the Greens, follow Stop AUKUS, get involved. We have to end this, and we have to end this now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophie. As Sophie said, we all need to get active and get organised. And And Annalise over here has a sign-up sheet today. If you haven't signed it, please see Annalise and sign. Our next speaker is from the Communist Party of Australia, the National President, and the President of the Australian-Cuba Friendship Society in WA, Vinnie Molina. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil!
No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil!
No blood for oil!
No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil!
Yeah, thank you. Listen, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land. I pay my respect to elders past, present, and emerging. Acknowledging the sovereignty of the land was never ceded. It always was, and it always will be Aboriginal land. Yeah, I'm speaking on behalf of the Communist Party and the Australia-Cuba Friendship Society. We strongly condemned this aggression on the Venezuelan people. It is a breach of international law. It is openly a breach of international law. It's the law of the jungle. And like our government, he hasn't said anything, and he's complacent, and he's endorsing, and he has endorsed the genocide of the people of Gaza for more than 2 years. Like we said here, it must be said. We need to call it out, and we need to stand together against these atrocities. It is a violation of the UN. It is for oil. And we said on our introduction, no blood for oil. It's not the first time. And I would like to pay my respect to the families of those who fell during this military aggression. The reports are more than 40 that were killed on that morning. 32 of them, Cubans, working as a security for President Nicolás Maduro, that died in combat. I pay my respects to them, to the women and children that also were killed, innocent civilians, on this coward attack on the people of Venezuela. We can't allow Trump or US imperialism to do this type of international pageantry in the name of democracy. I remember when I was a child, and my grandmother used to say, listen, you know what the problem is for us Latin Americans? We live so far away from God, but too close to the United States. And she was right. Guatemala, 1954, the Marines went there defending the United Free Company. And since then, every other single country had been under the boot of the United States. And the people have the right to rebel, have the right to stand up, to rise up, to be independent. I feel respect for the Venezuelans who are rallying inside Venezuela. They don't necessarily agree on everything that happens on the homeland.
I agree, motherfucker.
But you know what? It is their right. It is their right to... It is their right inside the homeland. It is their right to decide by themselves what type of government they're going to have. That is the right in a democracy, that the people decide. In 2018, what I have learned is that the politics of hate doesn't take us anywhere. It doesn't build peace. It doesn't build future. in 2018, I was in Caracas, Venezuela, as part of the international delegation monitoring the elections. I was there and I witnessed the participation of the people. Can we say that things are perfect? No, we can't. We're only humans. And as long as we are clear what the purpose of the invasion was, we need to work together. It is oil. You know what? Trump doesn't give a fuck about human rights for Venezuelan people. He doesn't care if they have access to education or housing. He wants oil. He wants to make money. He wants multinational corporations to get there and take control of the biggest reserves of oil in the world. It's not about people having no food on the table, or a roof, or a job. Why is it that Venezuela has been with so many difficulties? It is the blockade. And you know what? Venezuela was starting to trade in yuans in an alternative system to the SWIFT. That was the real thing. It was a threat to the petrodollar system. The petrodollar, look at what happened to Libya, Iraq, when they start trading oil in other currency than the US dollar. Because it is the petrodollar that keeps the empire alive. That is what is happening. That is the truth. So, to wrap up, to avoid the abuse, we demand that our government condemned the atrocities committed in Venezuela, the return of President Nicolás Maduro and his wife Celia Flores, to allow the Venezuelan people to decide for themselves the future and the type of government and country they would like to live in peace without the control of the United States. Thank you very much. No blood for oil! No blood for oil! No blood for oil! Pretend. No blood for oil! Thank you.
Venezuelan people. Trump has said quite clearly, this act of terrorism will cost us nothing because we'll extract payment for it out of the Venezuelan land. This grab for resources must stop. And now I'd like to introduce Sam Wainwright. He's speaking from the Socialist Alliance and also for Stop AUKUS WA. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks so much, Ellie. Now, I was a councillor at the City of Fremantle for 12 years, and one of the residents that I represented was a chap called Nelson, who lived in Bromley Road, Hilton. And he would always be quite sombre and depressed on September 11 every year, because of the other September 11. The September 11, where the United States engineered a coup in his country, overthrew the elected government, killed 30,000 people, and detained without trial people like him who had their fingernails ripped out, who had electrodes attached to their genitals, in a coup that was orchestrated by the United States, while a US Navy ship was off the Chilean coast helping coordinate the coup plotting. And if we look at 150 years of history in Central and Latin America, it's been US interference blocking self-determination, blocking democracy, undermining future of people. And the same is true in Venezuela. And we should, the US attack on Venezuela didn't just happen in the last 48 hours. The United States has been imposing a blockade, economic sanctions on Venezuela for over a decade. Now, in medieval times, the first thing you wanted to do when you wanted to wage war against the country, your opponent, was you laid siege to their castle. So it's really important to understand that economic sanctions from a rich country against a country of the global south is an act of war, and it costs lives. And epidemiologists can actually point to the tens of thousands of Venezuelans who died, who need not die, because of the effect on the Venezuelan economy and access to healthcare and medicine and all that sort of thing. So tens of thousands of people have already been killed as a consequence of US policy towards Venezuela. And as people have already mentioned, anyone who thinks for a moment that Trump's intervention is going to usher democracy for Venezuela has got absolute rocks in their heads. We know there are Venezuelans who don't like the current Venezuelan government, but Trump has made it clear we are going to rule Venezuela. He's made it absolutely clear. Anthony Albanese puts out this idiotic, asinine press statement about, hoping this will, open the door to democratic transition in Venezuela. Trump has made it clear that it won't. He's made it absolutely clear. He's made it absolutely clear. Now, people sometimes say, it's always been this way. Like the United States, the Western powers and the United States in particular, they've never really obeyed international law. There's never really been a rules-based order. And on one level, that's true. We think about the invasion of Iraq. But there are two things that are new. And that is that Trump represents, in my estimation, a faction of the ruling elite in the United States that has decided that it's no longer worth the cost, politically or financially, to even pretend to obey international law and multilateral institutions. They don't even pretend. With the invasion of Iraq, there's all this palaver about the so-called weapons of mass destruction. They took a resolution to the UN, but Trump has made it clear, fuck that, we're not bothering with it. We're just going to go straight for what we want. You've got it, we want it. It's the gangster approach. He's made that very clear. So that is something that's new. But what is interesting is the response of our government. I'll come back to that in a moment. The second thing I'd say too that's new is that Trump has made it explicit that he wants a reorientation of US foreign policy, and in which the United States is treated, Latin America is the US backyard. So it's Monroe Doctrine Mark II, turbocharged with Trump-style gangsterism. He represents a section of the ruling elite in the United States that feel like they've lost control of Latin America, and it needs to be back under their boot. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. He's saying it's other areas of the world too far away, we can't control them. But in Latin America, we're going to call the shots. He's made that really clear. And what I think is so, on one level it's not surprising, but so infuriating is the absolute tepid, useless reaction of Anthony Albanese. And of course, it shouldn't surprise us, given what we've been through with Gaza. But you could still ask, well, surely he could have objected. Like Pedro Sanchez, who's the Prime Minister of Spain, leader of the Spanish Socialist Party, is more or less the Spanish equivalent of the Labour Party in that country. He's actually opposed the United States on Gaza and said there's not going to be any shipments of weapons to Israel through Spain, through Spanish ports and Spanish airports, and he's come out and said we do not recognise this action. So if he can do it, why can't Australia? Why can't Anthony Albanese? Why can't Anthony Albanese, who was the founding member of the Parliamentary Friends of Palestine in 2014? Why can't Anthony Albanese do it? I think that what this shows is that this is the logic of AUKUS. So unlike Spain and Ireland, who haven't done heaps, but they've done the bare minimum, right? They've actually at least called a spade a spade. The logic of AUKUS binds us into US foreign policy. The logic of AUKUS is you cannot criticise US foreign and military policy. So we've seen it on Gaza, and now we see it in Venezuela as well. And in actual fact, the more outrageous things that Trump and his people senior in the Trump administration say, the more they double down. And it's almost every single time they come out with something really outrageous, like we want Greenland and Panama or whatever it is, the latest violent brain fart that comes out of the Trump administration, Richard Marles, our defence minister, goes running across the Pacific Ocean to give more of our money to the United States. So, the AUKUS class submarines aren't going to, if they ever arrive, aren't coming till 2040 or whatever it is, right? So, in theory, the stopgap measure is the United States States is going to give us some of the so-called Virginia-class submarines. And the US has said, oh, look, we only produce 1 or 2 a year. We're not sure if we can afford to sell you any. So in order to boost the capacity of the US shipbuilding industry, Australia so far has made 3 donations, because it's not a contract, 3 donations, untied donations totaling $3 billion. 3 times Richard Marles has gone galloping across the Pacific Ocean to fawn at people like Hegseth and give them and promise another $1 billion. So that's $3 billion so far, with another instalment to come. A total of $4.5 billion. Untied donation from Australian taxpayers. It's not his fucking money, it's our money. It's money that could have been spent on the NDIS. It could be spent on public transport. It could be spent on women's shelters. You come up with the list. The money could be spent on other stuff. No, $4.5 billion untied donation to the United States shipbuilding industry in the hope that they'll sell us a couple of Virginia-class submarines sometime down in the future. Now, Donald Trump is, you've seen what Trump's like. He's liable to say, in 5 years' time, he's liable to say, actually, you know, fuck it. You're not getting the Virginia-class submarines, but we're going to keep the $4.5 billion. This is the logic of AUKUS. This is the logic of Australia completely prostrating itself to US foreign policy. And you'll have friends and colleagues, I'm sure, who say, oh, but, you know, it's a big, dangerous world. We've either got to choose China or the United States. Absolute bullshit. We need to advocate that Australia have an independent foreign policy based on peace and justice in the world. Look at Vietnam, for heaven's sake. Vietnam isn't saying, oh, we've either got to side with China or the United States. Vietnam has been invaded by China and the United States and France and Japan. And it's saying, no, we don't. So a wealthy country like Australia, an island continent, nobody can invade Australia. There is no imminent invasion threat whatsoever. An independent foreign policy based on peace and justice. And as Sophie said, that starts with cancelling AUKUS, no US bases, cut the US alliance. Enough of this alliance with the biggest sponsor of terrorism in the world today. And on the question of Venezuela, we've got to say, we need the Australian government to say we don't recognise Trump's invasion. We call for the release of Maduro. We call for an end to sanctions and freedom for Latin American people from US interference. I just want to finish by saying, yes, absolutely get involved in Stop AUKUS WA. We really want to power up this campaign. You'll see Leonie somewhere with some of these stickers. We want to do a flotilla protest down at Cockburn Sound this year. We were actually going to do one late last year, but storm weather prevented us from doing it. And we really want as many people there. And one of the reasons is because this AUKUS project has got so ingrained on every level of government that the AFP has announced the formation of a special task force whose job is to protect AUKUS. So an Australian Federal Police unit has been set up to protect AUKUS. And in its mission statement, it's quite clear. It's not just to protect the physical assets, you know, to stop us getting in canoes and trying to stop a submarine from docking or something like that. We'll try to do that if we can. But it's actually to monitor political activity around AUKUS as well. Political activity. And, you know, a few weeks ago, a delegation from Stop AUKUS met with a member for Fremantle, Simone McGurk, and Tony Papalia was there. And he's the minister basically responsible for trying to develop a defence industry in Western Australia. Because it's now bipartisan policy, federal and state, to try and turn Australia into a major arms exporting country. And so there's now a state government instrumentality that's been set up to try and get as much of the AUKUS work happening in Australia as possible, and to make Australia a defence leader. I mean, we're already selling arms to wonderful countries like Saudi Arabia, and they want to do more of it. And interestingly, in informal discussion, Papali actually admitted that there is no rules-based order anymore. So they know it's true. They might mouth some shit in front of TV cameras about, Australia, wants to see democratic resolution, blah, 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 blah. But they actually know the truth of the matter. They've read what Trump is doing, and instead of standing up with it, they're going along with it. And we cannot let them do it. We owe it to ourselves and to peace on this planet. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. And Sam reminds us that war has never delivered peace, and war has never delivered security for anyone. And the most destabilising force in the world today is a US terrorist state. I'd now like to introduce Barry Healy from Red Spark and from Hands Off Venezuela. Barry and a group of other people around Australia all come together to anticipating what was going to happen with Venezuela. We knew when they started bombing fishermen out of the water, murdering fishermen who were going about their working lives, and anticipating that, got a group together, and that's why this has been able to be pulled together so quickly around the country. It's great that people have that enlightenment. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, I want to thank both Sam and Vinnie, who were primarily involved in organising this event here today, along with me. And now there is a sign-on sheet, a contact sheet floating around here for you to put your name on. So the next time we get organised, we'll have more hands on deck, and it's really important. I want to emphasise to people that the reason why President Trump is interested in Venezuela is because of the oil. We all know that. If Venezuela only had cabbages, the United States wouldn't care two hoots about it. And this is one of the things. If Nicolas Maduro really was a hideous dictator, President Trump would love him. He would buddy up with him. He'd give him a free flight to Jeffrey Epstein's private island and all that sort of thing. This is one of the things. We get told in the media that Nicolas Maduro is a terribly corrupt, evil politician. Do you see him in the social pages of the media hobnobbing with the millionaires, with any of the billionaires of the United States or in Saudi Arabia or anything like that? No, not at all. Within Venezuela, within Caracas, there's a suburb called Buenos Aires, and that's where the richest of the rich people live. That is the absolute rat's nest of the right-wing opposition in Venezuela. And if you go up there, it's like apartheid. They have the mansions have gigantic walls, like about as high as that glass there, and they've got private guards patrolling the streets. You ever seen any photos of Nicolas Maduro up there hobnobbing with the rich? No, they'd kill him. They hate him. No, when Nicolas Maduro goes out of the presidential palace, he goes down to the poor part of town. He goes down to the barrios, where the people are organised in defence of the revolution. And I have seen the people of Venezuela organised in the defence of the revolution. Annalise and I were there in 2008, and we saw the beginning of the people's communes, which are the bedrock of people's power in Venezuela. They're the bedrock of the state. And it's the people's communes that terrify Donald Trump. Sure, they've swept in, they've kidnapped Nicolas Maduro, but now Trump has not put boots on the ground. He's holding back. And they know damn well that the people of Venezuela will not stand for military intervention from the United States. The people are armed, the people are organised, and they will not stand for colonisation from the United States. The people's communes, it's very hard for us living in the belly of the beast of an imperialist state to even imagine what human dignity really looks like. Now, we are encouraged to be consumers and to live our lives that way. When we talk about empowerment, we talk about individual empowerment, get your face done nicely and stomp on everybody else and get rich and get ahead, be the biggest bastard on the block. It's not like that among the barrios of Venezuela. They have real empowerment. People develop themselves by developing their communities. They build their empowerment by empowering their communities, and the dignity is incredible. We met a woman who was 72 years of age, right? This woman was a single mother. right? And in Venezuela, in the old days with the machismo, single mothers were treated like dirt, right? So we met this woman, she was 72. She had learned to read and write through the revolution. She had gone to primary school through the revolution. She went to high school through the revolution. And the night we met her, she was halfway through a law degree. That's what human empowerment is. That's what human dignity is. That's what Donald Trump is terrified of. We met a woman on a bus. She had 10 children. Good God. She had learned to read and write through the revolution. She had put herself through school and through the revolution. And she had just graduated as a social worker through the revolution. That's what the Chavismo movement is all about. That's why the people of Venezuela will stand in defense of their revolution, the Bolivarian revolution. And we have to explain to people in Australia what this real people's power is all about. And I'm hoping that out of this gathering here today, we will be able to build a movement where we can organise public meetings to explain to people about Venezuela, where we can show movies and get the movie makers to explain about Venezuela. It's been suggested that we should go to the offices of ALP politicians and hold protest speak-outs outside the front door to let them know what we think of the piss-weak response of the Australian Labor Party. That's what we need to organise. So there is a contact list going around, so please sign on and join the movement. That's what we need. Freedom for Venezuela! Freedom for Venezuela! Freedom for Venezuela! Freedom!
Donald Trump, USA, how many kids have you killed today? Donald Trump, USA, how many kids have you killed today?
Donald Trump, USA, how many kids have you killed today? Donald
Trump, USA. Okay, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, and this is a great way to introduce her. I'm just going to read this placard there. Oil bomb Venezuela and kidnaps president, said Trump. Make it cheaper at the pump. Elbow, you must condemn this act of war, and for peace abide by international law. From nuclear war, please act. Save us, PM. We beg you to cancel AUKUS US. And so now I would like to introduce Alan Morrison. Alan is the West Australian representative for IPAN WA. IPAN is the Independent Peaceful Australian Network. So please welcome Alan.
Thank you for everyone who organised this event today at such short notice. It's great that there's such a big turnout, and I think this will only be the start. I remember, 20 years ago, the first protests I went to were against the invasion of Iraq. I was in high school and I didn't really understand it. I just wanted to take the day off. So I went along with some friends, and it was a very powerful day, great movement, but we all know that the wars went ahead, Australia was involved, those countries were destabilised, and it's been, forever war since then. So I think we can see another big change on the horizon with this unlawful attack and kidnapping of Maduro. The president of one country can be arrested, and taken to another country to stand in their domestic court. It really has no precedent. It's quite bizarre.
Not in this day.
No. Yeah. It's very disturbing. So I'm with IPAN, which is the Independent and Peaceful Australian Network. So we're a national peace group, and there are a lot of other groups, peace groups, unions, religious groups are affiliated with us, and it's just basically a way to link up all the peace groups throughout the country, so we can kind of pool our resources, share ideas, and work together. So there's never been a better time for people to join up. In WA, we work closely with Stop AUKUS, on the campaigns to cancel AUKUS and the FPA, doing a lot of work there. So whether you're an individual or you are within a small group, please join up with IPAN because we're going to need to strategize on this one. We're going to need to work together. It's a very ugly face of war coming out, and with the climate crisis, unfortunately, it may get worse. So I'll just read a little bit of the statement from IPAN on this one. So. This act of aggression constitutes a flagrant violation of international law and the sovereignty of a peaceful nation. The international community is already voicing its opposition. Colombian President Gustavo Petro has alerted the world to the attack on Venezuela, and the Spanish Foreign Minister has called for de-escalation and adherence to international law. Australia must add its voice to this growing chorus of condemnation. The justification for the invasion, that Venezuela is a major source of illegal drugs entering the US, specifically fentanyl, does not stack up against the evidence. In fact, less than 1% of the illegal drug supply into the US originates from Venezuela. The indictment of President Maduro and his family on these unsubstantiated charges appears to be a thinly veiled pretext for seizing control of Venezuela's vast oil reserves, which are the largest in the world. So, that's about it from me. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Alan. So I guess we're going to wrap up fairly soon, but thank you all for coming. But let's send a message to Albanese about what we want. We want them to speak on our behalf and condemn this illegal terrorist act from the US. We want them to end this relationship. We want them to break the US-Australia military alliance. And we want to send a really loud, clear message to our government, to the US administration, or should I say the US terrorist regime. I think that's more appropriate. And we are going to say to them, no blood for oil! 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 And no grab for resources and no grab for land. Get off our land. We don't want you here, and we don't want Australia joining the US in any illegal wars. They must go. And we must have an independent, peaceful foreign policy, sorry, IPAN, we must have. I was getting tongue-tied on that one. Sorry about that. Hands off Venezuela. We'll finish with that. Hands off Venezuela. Hands off Venezuela. Hands off Venezuela. Hands off Venezuela. Thank you very much for coming. And like I said at the very beginning, you are the people who are going to build this mass resistance against the US military aggression. You're needed, and you need to bring your friends and your family along with you, because we need to grow this movement. We're all working together. We're all working together in a really positive, unified way, and it's the only way that we can defeat a monster like the US. We have to come together. So thank you very much.